Hello, fictional. Welcome to the What If Essay. Today we are gonna see what if Issei had ultimate gacha system. Part 1. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Hyoudou Issei is an ordinary man. Albeit a bit too perverted for his own good. Or, that's who he was meant to be if he didn't receive the ultimate gacha system 7 years ago and instead met a perverted old man. But thankfully, the gacha system arrived in time. Issei didn't have to use the idea of the perverted old man as a coping mechanism for Arena's departure. Hence, he avoided his destiny, but he gained the ability to write his own. Currently, our hero is in the kendo club having a match with the captain. It would look intense to many who are watching the match, and both are equally matched. However, that's not the case for people like Hyoudou, who is far more experienced in a real fight. No, they could see just how dominating Issei was with the sword. Kiba himself felt inferior to Issei. Issei and Murayama were in a standoff. As the round started, Murayama couldn't even see Issei move. No, she was instantly hit, giving Issei the point. They reset their position, and when the round started, Murayama was again hit without her seeing what Issei did. "Issei. We love you. You're amazing," shouted one of the girls from the kendo club. "Captain. You can't let him beat you. You're our invincible captain," another from the kendo club shouted. Kiba and Akeno watched the show. Even though Issei wasn't part of the club, many were supporting him over their own captain. Then again, Akeno was thinking of something perverted in her mind. I wonder what it would be like to dominate such a man, Akeno thought. It would be some spicy moment at the least. He. Such mastery over the sword, Kiba thought. Even as a devil, I could barely follow the movement of his sword. His control is beyond me. If I were to have a match with him, I would certainly lose. Unless I use my night piece boost. 10 minutes later, the match between Issei and Murayama was over. Not once in the match did Murayama get a single point. She was disappointed in herself, but she was determined to improve her skills. "Good match, Murayama," Issei said. He smiled at her and shook her hand. "If you even want to train for an upcoming match, don't hesitate to ask me for some advice." "Will do, Issei," Murayama said. She then sighed. "It was such a shame. It's such a shame that you're a man. If you were a girl, that would have been a wonderful thing as you could propel our kendo club to the top of the national tournament. Another shame is that you couldn't be our club advisor since you're a student like myself. I still don't get why you don't open up a club for both males and females," Issei said. Though, he slightly understood it. "I get that some guys could be creeps and would join just to perv on you girls, but I think it would benefit the club in the future if you opened it to both genders." "As great as that sounds," Murayama said. She was in a dilemma, but she didn't change her mind. Many of the girls in the club are uncomfortable with most of the guys in the school, since they were the type to enroll for the sole purpose of being a pervert, thinking they would have a higher chance of getting it on with a girl here. "It's a shame, but understandable," Issei said. He nodded his head as he spoke. "Anyway, if you need any help, don't hesitate to ask me. I'm willing to teach you a few things." After the match, Kiba and Akeno headed to the orc room, where Riaz was doing some paperwork and Kaneko was eating some sweets. Kiba and Akeno wanted to give their evaluation of Issei as a candidate for a night piece. As Riaz was doing her paperwork, Kiba and Akeno arrived in the club room. Riaz looked away from her work and looked at the new arrival in the room. "But we have our evaluation of the night piece candidate," Akeno said. She was giggling to herself as she said it. The idea of her whipping Issei in bed is still clear in her mind. "I would say he is cut above Kiba in terms of skills." "I concur with Akeno's evaluation," Kiba said. He cited his own lower level of skill compared to a regular person. His technique and speed with the sword are outstanding. If I was to have a match with him, I would lose 100% of the time unless I was to use my ability as a devil and the boost of the night piece. "Oh? That's quite an evaluation," Riaz said. She then took off the glasses she wears, not because she has an eyesight problem, but because it helps her concentrate. "Anything else to note?" "I want to do things to him in bed," Akeno said. She then started giggling again. "I want to see how great that body of his can hold against my whip." "Akeno, I wasn't talking about things that happen in your head," Riaz said with a sigh. Akeno is her right hand, but sometimes she just sigh. "I was asking for things of note about Issei. Benefits that we can use to invite him into the peerage." "Oh? I have nothing else," Akeno said. "You wouldn't mind if I spent some time with him whether he accepts being in the peerage or not, do you?" "As long as it doesn't affect your work, I don't mind," Riaz said. Looking at Akeno, Riaz had to make sure to warn her. "But make sure you don't take things too far. I know of your sadist kink. You being a devil is different from those of regular humans. Make sure you don't hurt him." I won't do things without his approval," Akeno said. She then giggled once more. This made Ria sigh as she knew there was almost nothing a man wouldn't allow when a keno seduces them. So? When are you going to approach him? I plan to do so in a few days, Ria said. She then looked at all the paperwork on her table and gestured towards it. All of these aren't going to finish themselves. I told you I could help you with it, Akeno said. She was always willing to help Rias when she was in need. I can do some of the paperwork as well as you do it. I know, Akeno, Ria said. She then sighed. But that's not the problem. I'm working on all of this paperwork as only Sona and I can view them. That's a shame, Akeno said. She then went to an area within the room and started making tea for Rias. Once she was done, she gave the tea to Rias. Here, this will help you relax a bit. But Issei, he was standing on a bridge watching the sunset. He does this every time he heads home. Issei loves to watch the sunset as he finds it calming. While Issei was watching the sunset, he was approached by a girl. She had a slender body with a large bust. Her attire was her school uniform, consisting of a dark red jacket with the letter P embroidered in gold, a white undershirt, a red bow, and a green skirt with a thin white stripe around the lower end. Ahem. The girl fake coughed to gain his attention. Are you Hyoudou, Issei? Issei said while he turned to look at the girl that spoke to him. Issei's not a pervert, but he can appreciate someone's beauty without sexualizing them. Can I help you? I don't think we've ever met. My name is Yuma Mono, Yuma said. She was fidgeting quite a bit with her hands. She then took a deep breath before continuing. Hyoudou, Issei, are you seeing anyone right now? No, I'm not at the moment, Issei said. He thought that the girl was about to confess to him. But he also realized that she was a fallen angel. So, he decided to play along for now. I never had time to date anyone before. Terrific. I've been watching you for a while now and I started to fall in love with you, Yuma said with glee. But looking at Issei, she became nervous again. Would you mind going out with me? Eh? Issei was shocked. Sure. Issei was only planning to play along with Yuma, but his fiery eyes' golden pupils didn't detect any lies, except for her name. The eyes are capable of seeing through illusions and lies. Hence why he knew Yuma was a fallen angel, just like how he knows that Kiba and Akeno were devils, not because of illusions, but because of their magical energy, which he can see. Staring at Yuma, Issei had no words to say, except to accept her confession. Wonderful. Yuma said. How about we go on a date this Sunday? Sure, Issei said. Knowing that Yuma wasn't up to something, he decided why not go on a date with a beautiful girl. He took a deep breath and calmed himself. Can I have your number? That way, I can contact you and give you details for our date on Sunday. Yuma took a piece of paper and pen from inside her jacket and she proceeded to write down her number before handing it over to Issei. Here you go, Yuma said. She then bowed her head. I have to go now. Please contact me anytime you need to. Issei waved his hand goodbye at her and he walked home. While heading home, he was still confused about the real reason why Yuma approached. But nothing Yuma said indicated any lies. Not even his fiery eyes' golden pupil were able to discern any lies. Issei shook his head and stopped thinking about it for now. It's not like he isn't capable of protecting himself. Issei woke up and decided to do his usual morning routine the following morning. Which was to roll the gacha, shower, get changed for school, and then have breakfast downstairs. Oh. And he can't forget to bring drag food inside his dimensional farm. Then again, the dragon can go and hunt whatever animal he wants to eat. Issei then activated the ultimate gacha in his mind and a screen appeared in front of him. No one except for Issei was capable of seeing the interface of the ultimate gacha. He looked through all the rewards for today and he saw a few things he liked to have. So, he clicked spin for the day. Gacha is now rolling. Congratulations. Issei received wedding rings X11 God. The user may access the reward within the inventory. Huh? What the hell? Issei said. He was baffled at the item he got. Wedding rings with a rarity of God. What the hell kind of rings could they be? Issei took out the card for the wedding ring X11 God. He read the description on it and he was surprised. He was not expecting such an item. Wedding ring God, a wedding ring forged by a god of immense power. The god never wanted to be separated from the people he fell in love with. Hence, he created this wedding ring to tie their life with his. This would allow them to come back to him no matter how many times the people he loves die. As long as the god lived, his spouses would live as well. Unfortunately, God wasn't able to complete the rings before the demise of his spouses. Nevertheless, the god completed the ring and kept it in a temple. It was kept there until the person destined for them arrived. Gold ring for the male and 10 blank rings. Abilities. Life force intertwine. The moment the blank ring is worn by a person with mutual love as the wearer of the gold ring, their life force will be intertwined. The wearer of the gold ring will be able to feel the presence and feelings of the gold ring wearer. And the gold ring wearer would be able to feel the emotions and presence of the blank ring wearers. Mutual summoning. The wearer of the rings can summon anyone wearing the other rings. However, this would only be possible if the summoned person agreed to the summoning. Magic sharing. The magical energy of the people wearing the blank ring could access the magical reserve of the wearer of the gold ring. However, since the user has no magical energy due to having true magic, all blank ring wearers will have their magic turn to true magic. Adaptation. The blank rings will change form depending on the wearer's taste. Whether it be bedazzled by diamonds or a simple-looking ring. There is nothing the blank rings can't transform into within reason. Immortality. As long as the wearer of the gold ring is alive, the others would be alive, no matter what happens to them. No reality warping power will be able to overcome the power of the ring's immortality. However, the gold ring wearer is not given any form of immortality by the wedding ring. Holy shit. No wonder the rings are considered a god rarity, Issei said. His eyes and jaws were wide open when he finished reading the description of the wedding rings. But why does it have 10? Damn. I guess the god was popular with the ladies. Issei shook his head and closed the interface of the ultimate gacha system. He then headed to the bathroom to have a shower. 10 minutes later, while Issei was enjoying his shower, he heard his mother shouting that breakfast was ready and hurry up. Hearing his mother's voice, Issei hurriedly finished his shower and got ready for school. As soon as he was done, he headed downstairs to eat breakfast. When Issei arrived at the dining table, he saw the other 3 house residents. There was his mother, Hyoudou Miki, a full-time housewife. She has the appearance of a middle-aged woman with dark brown hair tied into a ponytail and hazel eyes. Beside Miki was Hyoudou Goru, an ordinary office worker. Goru has the appearance of a middle-aged man with brown hair and brown eyes and wears glasses. The last of the resident of the Hyoudou household was Office. Her appearance is a cute young girl with long black hair down to her hips and black eyes. Her ears differ from an average human's as they have pointed tips, although her long black hair makes this feature difficult to notice. Her dark gray eyes have reptilian slitted pupils. Her attire consists of Gothic Lolita fashion. There wasn't a single person in the Hyoudou household that didn't know what Issei was capable of. He believed that them being aware of the supernatural is far safer than being ignorant and dying without knowing why. Issei's parents have a protection spell on them. It is called Guardian Vishanti. A heavy-duty protection spell capable of blocking powerful magic. However, the more it's attacked, the more energy it would lose. Fortunately, weaker attacks do not deplete the protection of Guardian Vishanti. Looking away from the newspaper, Goru saw that his son was done getting ready for school. "Oh, Issei," Goru greeted. He then put down his newspaper and continued speaking. "Hurry and eat your breakfast before they get cold. Look, Office is nearly done with hers and is now eyeing yours." Issei looked in Office's direction, and his father was right. But the second it took him to look in Office's direction, she was already done with her food and her hands were making their way towards his plate. Issei immediately disappeared from his position and reappeared with a plate of food in hand. What Issei used was Bop Up. "Come on, Office," Issei said. He looked at the dragon and she was pouting at him. "You know this is mine. If you wanted more, you could have asked for seconds instead of grabbing someone's food. That's just bad manners." "Sorry," Office said. Her face then went back to its usual emotionless look. Her stomach then gurgled and she held it. "I was still hungry and there was no more left." Issei sighed at this and he decided to conjure Office some more food. There were rice, egg, chicken, and some steak. He even conjured some cookies for Office to eat. Seeing the food in front of her, Office's eyes sparkled with excitement. "So? Ice," Miki called. "Do you have any plans for this coming weekend?" "I do," Issei said. He was eating his breakfast. "So," he replied a bit slow to his mother as he would swallow his food before speaking. "I have a date with Yuma on Sunday. She's a fallen angel." "Are you going to be okay?" Miki said. She was worried about something happening to Issei as she remembered Issei talking about a bunch of fallen angels attacking a mother and daughter a few years ago. She also remembered Issei coming home disappointed that day as he wasn't strong enough to help the duo. "I still remember what those fallen angels did to those poor people." "I don't think anything would go wrong," Issei said. He then took a drink of his water before continuing. "My fiery eyes and golden pupils also didn't detect any lies from her. But I'll keep things in mind and be cautious." "That's good," Miki said. She has nothing against fallen angels as she knew they were similar to humans and not all of them are evil. "I do hope nothing bad happens." "Honey, why would you say that?" Goru said. He fixed his glasses and continued speaking. "You know that you just raised a flag." "Come on, Dad," Issei said. He sighed at his father's antics. "You know, you're the only one that believes in that superstition." "Oh, really?" Goru said. "I still remember the day a friend of mine from work raised a few flags and what happened to him. Dead. Hit by a car." "That's a horrible example," Issei said. "You know that he was driving recklessly in a busy street." I know, but it's because of such an attitude of denying something bad could happen that something bad happens, Goro said. Besides, if magic can exist, why can't superstition be real? I guess you have a point, Issei said. His ultimate gacha was something that was nothing more than stories in his world before he got one. What's to say that superstitions aren't real? Anyway, I need to get going. I don't want to be late for class. Don't you have that portal thingy? Goro said. He was then making a circular motion with his hand, indicating the usage of Eldritch Portal. That should be a useful tool. You can arrive at school within seconds. I don't want to use a portal, Issei said. He loves going to school on his bike. The wind in his hair in the morning felt great. You know that I like to take the VMAX for a ride in the morning. Issei finished his breakfast and headed out of the house. Once he was out, he took his VMAX out of his inventory and rode it to school. Issei really did love feeling the wind in his face. It was a shame that Issei couldn't just take out his wings and fly in the sky. Once Issei arrived at Kuo Academy, people looked at him as they usually do when he arrives, as he is the only student to own a vehicle. Why is that? That's because you have to pay Kuo Academy for parking. Hence students don't usually learn to drive at a later age. At least that's the case for Kuo Academy. Once Issei parked his VMAX, Issei headed to his classroom. When he entered, he saw a scene that he was all too familiar with as it happens every day. Mitsuda and Motohama were scolded by the female body as they were once again caught peeping on the girls' toilet. Issei sighed. He wasn't sure why he was even friends with the perverted duo, but then again, they were both people that helped him get through the sadness he felt when Irina left. The ultimate gacha helped, but not as much as Mitsuda and Motohama. So, he approached them. Come on, guys. Issei said. He looked at the duo that was on the ground groveling. Issei sighed at the side in front of him. I told you two to cut it out. How will you both get girlfriends if all you do is chase them away? We can't help it, okay, Motohama said. He was on the ground, groveling and crying as he spoke. It was just there. The toilet was tempting me to enter. I agree with Motohama. Mitsuda said. He was the same as Motohama. He was on the floor groveling while crying. Besides. We didn't even get to enter before we were caught and beaten up. They could have at least given us a little peek before assaulting us. You know what? Issei said. He only got to school, and he was already done with the perverted duo. I'm not even going to bother with you two today. I'm going to my seat and pretend that I saw nothing. As Issei said, he went to his seat and ignored the things happening with Mitsuda and Motohama. Instead of worrying about them, he decided to read a book he had purchased the other day. It was about AI creation. Issei was, after all, well versed in computer science, thanks to the Master Hacker, Master Roboticist, and Master Engineer. While Issei was reading, Kiryu Aika approached him. Yo. Issei. Aika said. She was in a teasing mode, but when she saw that Issei was not, she dropped her smirk. What's wrong with you? Nothing, Issei said as he sighed. I've tried to help those two, but they don't listen. I'm so tired of helping them. So, today, I won't even bother. Sheesh. You, of all people, are getting annoyed. That's never happened before, Aika said. She then remembered why she came over to Issei in the first place. By the way, I meant to ask, why didn't you bring your VMAX yesterday? Oh, that. That's simple, Issei said. He then came up with a reason on the spot. I had to carry a bunch of kendo gears yesterday for the match with the kendo club. I couldn't properly balance it on the bike if I used it. The truth is, Issei woke up late and was running out of time. So, he decided to do what his father suggested today. Issei opened a portal to Kuo Academy. Thankfully, there was an alley nearby that he could use to hide his portal. That's true, Aika said. At least the kendo club gave you your own storage now. You won't have to keep bringing it to school and back home unless you have to clean it. A few minutes later, the class started. Issei was paying attention somewhat. He wasn't arrogant, but the lesson's topic was too easy for him. If the class was about Japanese or any language, mathematics, physics, or information technology, Issei already knew it. For the most part, the only lesson that Issei listens to intently is human biology and chemistry. After all the classes were over, Issei didn't have to attend the kendo club since they didn't have any tournaments soon. The only reason there was a match between him and Murayama was to entice others to join the club. In an abandoned church, Yuma Amano, or her real name Rainer, was sending a text to Issei about how excited she was. Receiving a reply from Issei made Rainer smile. Not far from Rainer are the other residents of the abandoned church. One of the residents was a male, and the other two were female. The male was known as Donasik, a middle-aged looking man with short black hair and dark blue eyes. His attire consisted of a pale gray trench coat over a white dress shirt with a matching ascot, black pants and shoes, a pair of black gloves, and a black fedora. One of the females is known as Kalwarna, a tall and buxom woman with brown eyes and long navy blue hair that obscured her right eye. Her attire consisted of a maroon trench coat-like top with a wide collar, a matching miniskirt, and black-heeled shoes. The trench coat top was open at her chest, giving a view of her breasts and cleavage. She also wore a gold necklace around her neck. The second female resident was a middle girl with blonde hair styled into twin tails and blue eyes. She wears a gothic Lolita attire, consisting of a black Lolita dress with white frills, a large black bow on the front, a green jewel embedded on the collar, white thigh-high socks, and black shoes. She also wore a large black bow on top of her hair. "What got you so giggly?" Middle asked. She was very curious as to why the typically moody Rainer was smiling like a schoolgirl. "Usually, you only have this kind of smile when you're praised by Azazel or Shemhazai." "Nothing," Rainer said. She still had her attention on her phone. She was still chatting with Issei about where they could meet on Sunday for their date. "I'm just making a few plans for Sunday." "Whatever," Middle said with a roll of her eye. She then took out a photo in her pocket and handed it over to Rainer, who proceeded to be shocked as to why she had a picture of Issei. "We have a mission from Kakabiel. According to him, the person in the picture is a holder of a sacred gear." "What does that have to do with him?" Rainer asked. She knew the Kakabiel hated anyone that wasn't a fallen angel. To him, every other race is inferior to the fallen angel. Kakabiel recruiting someone is out of the question. "I know the Kakabiel hates anyone that isn't fallen angel. Even then, a fallen angel that is not up to his standard is still trash in his eyes. What does a human have to do with him?" "If you think the Kakabiel wants to recruit a human because he has a sacred gear, you're wrong," Kalawarna said. She sighed as she didn't want anything to do with this mission. She has tried to contact Azazel regarding the task given by Kakabiel, but he isn't reachable. Kakabiel wants him dead. According to him, that human is a threat to our people. "What? Is he crazy?" Rainer said. She still remembers Azazel's mission for them. "And that's to observe the wielders of a sacred gear. Nothing more, nothing less. I don't trust Kakabiel, and I've never trusted him. Azazel gave his orders, and that's to observe, not kill." "We have no choice," Middle said. Her face distorted in fear. "If we disobey his order, then he'll kill us." "Middle is right," Kalawarna said. She sighed once more since she didn't agree to this task. "But, it's her life over another. She chooses her life. You have to complete the task as it was ordered by Kakabiel himself, and he specified you to complete the task." "TSK. What does it matter if you take a life of a single useless human?" Donasik said. He didn't care for other people. Whether that was human or a fallen angel. He has always just cared for himself. Just kill the damn human and move on. All this hesitation is useless. Rainer was shaking. She had a choice to make. Either she thinks about herself and kill Issei or protect him and get herself killed. However, a few moments later, Rainer has made her choice. There was only one choice, which would be her choice 100% of the time. Donasik was right. There was no point in hesitating with her decision. Sunday afternoon, Issei was waiting for Yuma in the park. He was sitting on the fountain, looking at his phone for the time. Issei arrived 30 minutes earlier than the scheduled meeting. When Yuma arrived, Issei told her that he had just got to their rendezvous a few minutes ago. But she wasn't stupid. Yuma knew that Issei had arrived a bit before her. As an apology for making Issei wait, Yuma grabbed hold of his hand. Issei felt how soft her hand was. "I can keep holding it forever. It's so smooth, warm, and comforting," Issei thought. But looking at Yuma, Issei saw that she was saddened even when she was smiling. "Is something going on?" Her smile wasn't the same as when we first met. Issei had no idea what was going on with Yuma, but he didn't want to pry because they'd only met a few days ago. If her mood continues, Issei intends to inquire about what's wrong. For the time being, he just wanted to enjoy his time with Yuma, and who knows, maybe that would help her forget about whatever was bothering her. Issei's dream of going on a date while holding hands with a gorgeous girl came true. He was so touched that he was on the verge of tears, and he wanted to kiss Yuma as a thank you. But Issei was well aware that he should not rush things. He didn't want to make her feel uncomfortable with him when he was trying to cheer her up. Issei and Rainer had a good time on their date by traveling to several clothing stores and trying different outfits. Yuma looked stunning in whichever sort of clothes she wore. From the innocent-looking dresses to the dominatrix-like garment. She was very stunning. While they were going around, Issei saw that Yuma's genuine smile had returned and she was having fun. But there were times that Issei would see her other smile return. He was worried that something was wrong, but he had no choice but to let it go for now. After a few hours of going from store to store, Issei and Yuma were famished. So, they ate at a family restaurant. The store wasn't all that big, and there was only one table left that was meant for a party of 6, but since there were no other seats, they sat on it. Issei told Yuma that she could pick a fancier restaurant if she liked, but Yuma told Issei that she didn't need anything fancy. Hence, they ate at the family restaurant. Yuma and Issei ordered a burger that they asked to be customized. While they were eating, they talked about themselves a bit. Now, Issei knew that not everything Yuma said was true. His fiery eyes and golden pupils told him that Yuma was saying half-truths. Things such as schools, her friends, etc. They were half-truths because she didn't go to school in Watned. But everything else she said about herself, they were all real. As Yuma talked about herself, Issei just stared at her the entire time. Even when she would pause to take a bite out of her burger, Issei would look her in the eye and smile. He found her adorable. He couldn't take my eyes off her, and she, too, noticed since she blushed and looked away. While they were eating and staring at each other, Issei felt as if he understood how other teenagers felt when they were on a date. Issei felt as if he was alive for the first time, and it had nothing to do with fighting. After having their meal, it was finally getting dark. Issei and Yuma didn't want the date to end just yet. So, they took a stroll in the park, where they had their rendezvous. Eventually, it got very dark that their date had to end. "Listen," Issei Yuma said. She was looking down at the ground. She held her chest, and she took a deep breath. "To commemorate our first date, would you mind doing something for me?" Issei said. Looking at Yuma, he saw it once more. She had her fake smile. "Sure, I don't mind. What do you want me to do?" "Can you close your eyes?" Yuma said. Her eyes were on the verge of tears. "And whatever happens, don't open it." Issei did as Yuma said. He closed his eyes, and he felt her get closer and closer to him. A moment later, he felt something. Issei felt Yuma kiss him on the lips. He then heard her whisper. "I'm so sorry, Issei," Yuma said. Her voice sounded so remorseful. "Goodbye." Issei felt a gust of wind a second later, and Yuma was gone. Looking around, Issei only found a piece of her feather in the pocket of his shirt. It was black and reminiscent of the night sky. Holding onto the feather, Issei wondered why Yuma apologized and said goodbye. Not able to think of an answer, Issei sighed and headed back home. As Issei walked away, Rainer watched him on top of a tree with tears in her eyes. This was her choice, and no matter how many times she was given to choose a path, she would always 100% decide to sacrifice her life rather than an innocent person. But Issei now gone, she flew back to the abandoned church, knowing what was to come. But if one was to look into Rainer's eyes, it wasn't fear that one would find but determination. Determination to accept the consequences of her choice. Once Rainer arrived in the abandoned church, Middle, Kalawarna and Donasik waited for her. By this time, Rainer's tears were already dried and she washed her face along the way. "So?" Middle asked. She looked at Rainer, expecting good news. "Did you kill him?" "I didn't," Rainer said. Middle looked at her in shock, and so did the Kalawarna. However, Donasik only had contempt. "I wasn't able to do." "HMPH. You know what he will do to you since you failed," Donasik said. He had no issues showing his contempt towards Rainer, who failed the task given to her. "I hope you're ready for what's to come when you enter the church." Rainer already knew what was coming, and she accepted that she would die. But nonetheless, she wasn't going down without a fight. After all, who's to say the Kakabiel wouldn't send someone else like Donasik to come after her Issei? So, she decided to fight him to the death since she would die anyway. The least she could do was try and take down the person gunning for Issei. Back in Issei's family house, he arrived and entered his home. Issei's parents were waiting for him to ask how his date went. Being the good son he was, Issei answered all their questions as best as possible. "The date went great," Issei said. However, his parents could see that he was contemplating something. And without them asking, Issei answered. "When the date started, I realized something was wrong, but I didn't want to pry. So, I thought maybe showing her a good time would make her forget what was bothering her." Throughout the date, her mood did improve, and her smile was no longer the fake one that she had when we met up for the afternoon. However, I can see from time to time that she would give me one of her fake smiles, as if she was worried about something. After eating some food, it was getting dark, but we didn't want the date to end yet. I had fun. Yuma had fun. So, we decided to stroll in the park where we met up in the afternoon. I thought all was going well, but I was wrong. Yuma asked me if I could do something for her to commemorate our date. I agreed, and she asked me to close my eyes and not to open them no matter what. So, I didn't open my eyes. Yuma kissed me. It felt electrifying when I felt her lips on mine. But at the same time, she whispered an apology to my ear and she said goodbye. I pondered why she said those words all the way home, but I couldn't think of anything. "From what you described, Yuma seemed to have fun if she was willing to kiss you," Mickey said. Mickey had this thinking face before she continued speaking. "I know I wouldn't kiss my date at the end of the date if I didn't have a good time. And that's considering he's a hunk." Boru sighed as it was what happened on his first date with Mickey. Though, in the end, he was able to capture her heart. All this time, Office was just staring at the family, conversing about the date. She knew nothing of what was going on, and her best course of action was to keep quiet. However, she had a pout on her face, which Issei saw. So, he picked her up and sat her on his lap. Office like this, and she could never have enough of sitting on Issei's lap. While the family talked, Issei and the others heard a crash on the front door. Issei told his person to head upstairs as he checked to ensure that everything was safe. Mickey and Goro nodded their heads. They took office from Issei, and they headed upstairs. As soon as Issei opened the door, he saw 3 bloodied people. One of them had a missing arm, and the other had her wings ripped off. As for the last one, Issei saw that she had a massive hole in her stomach and was on the verge of dying. Issei recognized the energy signature as Yuma. He immediately picked her up in her arms and used his telekinesis to levitate the other 2 inside the house. Inside the house of the Hyoudou family, Issei was carrying 3 females, one of which by hand and the other 2 through telekinesis. Knowing that there isn't any room to place the 3 injured people, Issei had to put down Rainer and used his mastery over the mystic arts to expand the space inside the house and create a new room. Issei conjured multiple things that he thought might help, such as a bed. He then placed all the 3 injured people on the bed. While doing so, Yuma woke up. She grabbed onto the hem of Issei's shirt. "Issei, I'm so sorry," Yuma said. Blood was going into her throat. This was making it difficult for her to speak. I shouldn't have come here but I wanted to see you one last time before I die." Hey. Don't say that, Issei said. He had only known her for a few days, but he got attached to Yuma. "Listen to me, Yuma. Everything will be okay." Rainer said. Even more, blood was on her mouth and throat. "My real name is Rainer. I'm sorry that I didn't tell you my real name before." "You don't have to worry about that right now," Issei said. He then used divine healing to heal all of her wounds. "The only thing you need to worry about is recovering from your injury. Like I said, you have nothing to worry about. I won't let you die." Rainer smiled at Issei as she passed out. She didn't know if she would live or die, but at least she would be by Issei's side till the end. Seeing that Rainer passed out, Issei went to the other fallen angels and healed their wounds. Issei's divine healing is one of the most potent healing magic in the world. As long as you have a single breath, broken bones, severed limbs, and blown organs are nothing to its might. The hole on Rainer's stomach was regenerated entirely, but she needed to rest due to the amount of trauma that she went through. As for the other 2, the one with a severed arm and the one with ripped wings are fine and are fully regenerated. Issei left the room to allow the 3 to rest, but the moment he left, Issei felt the barrier around his house shake. There's only one reason that would happen: someone was actively attacking his house. Issei headed out of the house and saw a fallen angel in a fedora. "Who the hell are you?" Issei said. He was angry about what happened to Rainer, and now, this pathetic fallen angel is attacking his house. "I suggest you stop your attack, or else." "Ah. I guess you're more than just some useless human if you're capable of creating such a powerful barrier." "My name is Donasik said. Although he complimented Issei for his barrier, he still showed contempt towards him. "I'm not here for you. I'm here for the 3 traitors." "I don't care if you're here for me or not," Issei said. He then secretly sent him and Donasik into the mirror dimension. "You're not coming inside." HMPH. "Just because you can use a bit of magic doesn't mean you're a match against someone like me," Donasik said. He thought that with Issei being young, he had the upper hand. Donasik then made a blue light spear and he was ready to attack Issei. "You're nothing more than a baby in my eyes." Donasik then threw the light spear toward Issei. However, Donasik was extremely surprised. The light spear hit Issei on the head, but it did nothing. Not even a scratch could be seen. So, he proceeded to hurl more light spears at Issei. But yet again, nothing was happening. Donasik's light spear would shatter upon contact with Issei's body. When Issei saw the power of the light spear, he didn't even bother to block, dodge or parry. That's because Issei was able to assess the spear's power and knew that it wasn't enough to even bypass the normal armor of Fafnir. What chance does Donasik have against an upgraded and purified armor of Fafnir that is more powerful than the original? If the original armor of Fafnir is capable of tanking attacks B rank and lower without a scratch, then there was no way that Donasik could bypass Issei's armor Fafnir, as he would be able to tank attacks A rank and below. A+ rank if it was a noble phantasm. Issei was getting tired of Donasik's onslaught. "You bore me," Issei said. He then proceeded to use Bope Up to get behind Donasik, who was in the air. Issei then punched Donasik into the ground. He didn't use much strength, but Donasik crumbled. He tried to stand up, but every bone in his body was broken. Issei then picked up Donasik by the neck. "Now, I have a few questions for you. Were you the one responsible for the injuries of Rainer and the other 2? "No. I wasn't the cause," Donasik said. He wanted to grab Issei's hand and pry it out from his neck, but he couldn't since the bone in his hand was broken. The one that caused all the injuries. It was a fallen angel cadre named Kakabiel. "Oh?" Is that so? Issei said. He then tightened his grip on Donaseek's neck. Then tell me why you were looking for them. Is it to ensure they're dead? And where can I find this Kakabiel guy? Yes. Kakabiel wanted Rainer dead for not killing you. Donaseek said. Until now, Donaseek hasn't stopped trying to move his hands. As for the other two, Kakabiel want them dead for protecting Rainer. As for the last question, I don't know where he is. As soon as he told me to dispose of the traitors, he left. Well then, I have no reason to let you live, Issei said. He then saw Donaseek's face turn into shock. Issei threw him into the air and he saw mandalas appear in Issei's hand. By the flames of Faltine. Donaseek was incinerated without a single trace remaining. Issei then left the mirror dimension and headed back to his house. From there, Issei explained what was happening to his parents and office. Why exactly was Umar Rainer instructed to kill you? Miki asked. She was confused. Issei never advertises his abilities unless necessary. There was no reason for the supernatural to come after him. It has been that way for a long time. There must have been a reason. I didn't think to ask that, Issei said. He sighed at his oversight. Thankfully, we can ask Rainer and the other fallen angels. I have an idea why they might have gone after you, Issei, Afa said. Her face was still expressionless. It's your aura. Although the loop of binding on you suppresses your powers, it still leaks out a bit of your draconic aura. They might have mistaken it for a dragon-type sacred gear as you're the child of two humans. Well, they would technically be correct, Issei said. He then proceeded to take out a green crystal from his inventory. This is the boosted gear according to Drag. Mafa said. She then sniffed the green crystal. It didn't have the smell of a dragon anymore. I don't smell him. That's because I took Drag out of the boosted gears a year ago, Issei said. He looked at the green crystal and reminiscent of his fight with Drag. He was quite a formidable foe. And he's currently my familiar. You made one of the heavenly dragons as a familiar? Office asked. She was intrigued by Issei's words. That's not something anyone has ever done before. So? Where's Drag? He's inside my dimensional farm, Issei said. He was smirking at the memory of why Drag was there in the first place. He made a bet and lost. Now, Drag was responsible for hurting the animals inside the farm. The funny thing is, he didn't even have to do that. If you want to meet with Drag, I can bring you inside the dimensional farm. Or you could wait a few more weeks, then he would be allowed out as his punishment would end then. Anyway, Issei, Miki called. She was worried about the fallen angels. What are you going to do about the 3 fallen angels? It would be up to them, Issei said. He knew that Rainer and the other 2 were of no danger. As far as I know, Rainer was willing to sacrifice herself to protect me. I say she's a keeper, Goru said. Miki then looked at him with a glare. What? Are you saying that someone willing to put themselves in harm's way to protect the people they care about isn't a keeper? That's not what I meant. Miki shouted. Sometimes her husband doesn't know how to read the mood. I mean, what are we going to do about them? Are they living here now? The husband and wife then started arguing as they always do. It can be called an argument if you aren't familiar with the Hyoudou. The way they argue. That's just how they flirt. In a moment, they would be heading upstairs. Well, they already went upstairs to have some fun. The following morning, Rainer and the others woke up. They checked their bodies, and they had no injuries. No pain either. Kalawarna looked at her arm, and it was regenerated. Middle looked at her wings, and it was healed. Rainer looked at her stomach, and it was healed. Where are we? Middle asked. She was just as confused as the others. I remember Kakabiel ripping my wings off, but now, it's healed. My arm as well, Kalawarna said. She's never heard of a sacred gear capable of healing a severed arm. This can't be possible. Only a powerful person with healing magic can regenerate an entire arm. But that would mean. Kalawarna and Middle had a look of horror at what was being implied. They were hoping that the person that saved them was a sacred gear wielder. Otherwise, the person that saved them is an immensely powerful being. No, it can't be, Rainer said. She knew for a fact where she was now. The other night, at her most desperate moment, she wanted to see Issei one more time before her death. So, she brought her friends to Issei's house. No, it's not possible. According to Kakabiel's details, he was supposed to have a dragon-type sacred gear. He? Who's he? Kalawarna said. But then she remembered that Rainer was meant to eliminate a person that was a sacred gear wielder. No. That can't be. If that's true, he wasn't a simple person. Hold on, you two. Middle said. She was not following what was going on. What are you two talking about? The person that Rainer was meant to kill, Kalawarna said. Middle then had a look of understanding that turned into horror. Yeah, he wasn't some simple person after all. It was at this point that Issei entered the room. Kalawarna and Middle saw Issei and screamed. Geez. What's with the screaming? Issei said. He was covering his ears. I'm just here to make sure you're all okay. Issei you but how? Rainer asked. She was sure that he was meant to be a normal person. Then she realized that if Issei was a part of the supernatural world, then there was a chance he must have known that she was a fallen angel. Did you know that I was a fallen angel? I did, from the moment we met, Issei said. He then sighed. I didn't want to just tell you that I knew since I'm not sure if you wanted me to know. Issei was right. Rainer didn't know if she would ever tell Issei that she was a fallen angel. Maybe if they got serious, but that was in the future. If you knew I was a fallen angel, why did you agree to go on a date with me? Rainer asked. She was shaking, afraid of what Issei was going to say. Weren't you afraid that I would hurt you? I had nothing to worry about, Issei said. He smiled at Rainer because he remembered the day she confessed. When she told Issei of her feelings, Rainer wasn't lying. Because I knew that you weren't lying when you said you started to fall in love with me. Issei then activated his fiery eyes golden pupil, a version that allows others to see it. Rainer looked into Issei's eyes and she felt that there was nothing she could hide from it. This is known as the fiery eyes golden pupil, Issei said. He then deactivated his eyes. There are no lies or illusions that my eyes can't see through. That means you know all the half-truths I told you the other day, Rainer said. She felt embarrassed that Issei knew she was lying about being a schoolgirl. She was thousands of years old and she was interested in 17 years old. I think I'm going to die of embarrassment. You're fine. Issei said. He then laughed out loud. I don't mind dating someone a few years older than me. A few years? Rainer said. She knew that Issei was joking when he said a few years. But she still wanted to say her piece. You do now that I'm a few thousands of years older than you. Meh. I don't mind, Issei said. He then got close to Rainer and put his fingers on her chin. Besides, I've taken a liking to you. The fact that you were willing to sacrifice yourself to protect someone you care about makes you an amazing woman in my eyes. So, if you like, we can continue our relationship. I would like that, Rainer was blushing. She was a few thousands of years older, but she's never been in a relationship. Are you okay with this? Why wouldn't I be? Issei asked. He then gestured to all of him. I'm not exactly a normal person either. I might have been born human, but that's not what I am anymore. Well, at least half of me is no longer human. While Issei was speaking to Rainer, a certain infinite dragon entered the room since she was getting hungry and she wanted Issei to conjure food for her. And Issei subsequently picked up the dragon as if she was just a little girl. Now, Rainer, Middleton and Kalawarna are part of the Grigori. This means that they are up to date on the list of the most powerful beings in the world. And they also happen to know what all those powerful beings look like so that they don't accidentally piss them off. Seeing Office, the fallen angel trio passed out as Issei was treating her as if it was just an ordinary person. Oof. I think your appearance might have been too much for them, Issei said. He then looked at Office, who had no care in the world. At least someone who isn't close to Office would think so. Anyway, we need to let them rest. Passing out might not be bad for them. Issei then left the room and shut the door. He needed to get ready for school anyways. So, he went to shower, but not before he conjured food for Office, who is a bottomless pit. Once Issei was at school, he went through his classes as he does every weekday. But this time, Issei was surprised. Hyoudou came to his class and told him that Ria's Gremory, one of Kuo's two great ladies and Kuo's #1 beauty, wanted to speak to him. And what exactly does she want from me? Issei asked. He was curious. Rias and Sona, the two most powerful devils in Kuo, have left him alone for a long time. What could they possibly want with him? I don't think I've done anything to catch the eye of the OCR president. What Butchu wants is up to her to explain, Kiba said. It wasn't his place to explain as he was only ordered to invite Issei to the OCR room. Once you meet up with Butchu, she will explain everything. Issei then followed Kiba to the orc room. Once he was there, Ria seemed to be going for a spooky vibe as the lights in the room were off and candles lit. Issei saw the school mascot Kaneko on the couch, another one of the two great ladies of Kuo, Akeno making tea, and lastly, Rias herself sitting on a chair behind her Brobdingmajan table. Welcome Hyoudou, Issei. Ria said. She's acting quite dramatically. Please, take a seat. I such explain the purpose of my invitation. Issei looked around and found an open seat. He sat down and looked at Rias and waited for her explanation. Tell me, do you believe in the occult? In the supernatural? Rias said. She had her left hand finger intertwined with her right hand finger while having her elbow on the table. Would you believe me if I told you they are all true? I know. It sounds unbelievable, but it's the truth. Rias and the rest of the OCR members took out their devil wings. Issei wasn't surprised since he already knew about them. As you can see, everyone in the OCR are devils, Rias said. She looked at Issei, but she could see that he wasn't interested. If you join us, I can give benefits you could only dream of. If you accept to be part of my devil peerage, you can gain longevity that no humans have. Speak all languages as if you've studied them all your life. Strength beyond that of a human. Now, I offer you devilhood. Will you accept? No, thank you, Issei said. He scoffed at the benefits. I don't need to be a devil to be gain all that. Issei wasn't impressed with the so-called benefits. It was laughable even. Longevity. He has Avalon. It essentially makes him immortal. Speak all languages. He has fiery eyes, golden pupils. It allows him to learn a language that he's never studied before instantly. Strength. He was far more powerful than a heavenly dragon. Drake barely made him sweat. Eh? Riaz was shocked. The words Issei used suggest that he was in the know of what was going on. What do you mean? Are you aware of the supernatural world? Issei didn't answer Riaz. Instead, he created a mandalas to conjure the flames of Faltine. Everyone in the room felt the power of the flames conjured by Issei. Even as devils, they felt the need to leave the room. But thankfully, Issei cancelled his spell. Riaz and the others had their eyes wide and their jaws dropped. Even the emotionless Kaneko was shocked. Within the orc, Issei has already left, yet all the members were still shocked by what they had witnessed. Issei, the person they thought was a regular person, created a fire with his magic that was powerful enough to make everyone in its vicinity back away due to the heat it was producing. What just happened? Riaz asked. She was still not of sound mind. Did that just really happen? How is it possible? I felt no form of magical energy from him yet, he was able to produce such a powerful fire with magic. But did you not realize? Kiba said. He was trying to figure out what had happened. But he was able to notice something unusual. The magic of Issei did not produce any form of magical signature, it's as if there was no energy forming the fire, but instead, it just existed out of nothingness. I noticed that too, Akeno said. Usually, she would have some remark and a perverted thought, but it wasn't time for it. Such power, but no energy usage, is that possible? It's almost like magic, Riaz said. But the type of magic she was thinking of was something else. Most beings that use magic do conversion. Magical energy to magical effect. But Issei did none of that. The magic just appeared without conversion. I've never heard of something like this before. Not even from the god of Bible or the four original Satan. What Issei did look almost as if he didn't need a form of magical energy to make magic. While everyone was still silent and contemplating what they experienced, Sona Citri, student council of Kuo Academy, arrived and is now staring at the orc members. What's going on with you? Sona asked Riaz. She was curious as to why Riaz was in a catatonic-like state. I've never seen you like this before. Sona, sorry, Riaz said. She was finally out of her daze. I just witnessed something insane. Sona was interested in what it was that shocked Riaz. So, Sona asked for a story. Riaz sighed and explained how she spoke to Issei a few moments ago, and she found out that he wasn't as normal of a person as they thought. Riaz also explained the abnormality that she experienced with Issei's magic. So, let me get this straight, Sona said. She sighed and pushed up her glasses that slid down her nose. You figured out the Issei wasn't a normal person and is actually powerful whatever he is, and you just let him leave. I wasn't in my right mind, okay. Riaz said. She was frustrated that what Sona said was true. How would you react when a person you thought wasn't aware of the supernatural world, then suddenly, boom. The person uses a powerful spell that made you want to run away? Ahem. Sona faked coughed. She knew that she would probably react the same way as Riaz. Well, at least I wouldn't let him just leave. I would have made a deal with him. According to you, he surpasses Kiba in his swordsmanship. You also told me he can do magic which sounds more powerful than Akeno's. I would have made a deal with him to train Akeno and Kiba. I have nothing to say to that, Riaz said. She couldn't even look Sona in the eye because she would never have thought of that. I might have to ask for him tomorrow. Oh. I still can't believe it would be a lot harder to ask him to join my peerage. Yeah, about that, Sona said. She had a feeling that Riaz wouldn't be able to ensnare Issei to her peerage. I doubt he would be willing to join your peerage, or if you could even turn him into a devil. From what you told me, the magic he used casually was strong enough for you to want to leave his vicinity. I don't think you would be strong enough to turn him into a devil. Riaz let out a groan due to frustration. What Sona said was right. As of right now, turning Issei into a devil might be impossible. The best she could do right is to enact Sona's suggestion of making a deal with Issei to train Akeno and Kiba. Back with Issei, he is currently on his VMAX in an open area. He was watching the sunset. But after a while, he decided to head home. He still had to check on Rainer and her friends. Once he was home, he saw his parents at the dining table speaking to Rainer, but the other two were nowhere to be seen. Hey, you three seem to be having fun, Issei said in a teasing voice towards Rainer. Said girl just blushed and looked away. By the way, where are your two friends? They went back to Grigori, Rainer said. She then sighed. Since we couldn't contact Azazel, we need to contact the next best person. And that would be Shemhazai. As for me, I don't plan to stay in the Grigori. I asked Middleton Kalawarna to tell Shemhazai that I'm leaving the Grigori. Well, if you're leaving the Grigori, what will you do now? Issei asked. You're welcome to stay here if you don't have a place to stay. I was speaking to your parents about that, Rainer said. She then smiled. They told me the same thing as you did. They said I can stay here since I was dating you, but I didn't want to freeload. So, they said I can help out in the store. I was surprised when the store they talked about is the most popular even amongst the supernatural. Yeah, our fresh fruit, vegetable, and meat products are the best in the world, Issei said. He smirked because the products came from the dimensional farm. I doubt you would find anything that could surpass our store's products. Issei can't say that with certainty because the product of his family's store comes from the dimensional farm. Dimensional farm god, a personal space where the user can plant anything he wants, even divine trees. The speed of plant growth is 100,000. A minute is equivalent to 100,000 minutes of growth. However, the moment the plant has reached full maturity, it would stop growing and instead be kept nourished to be at its best state. Animals would be treated similarly to plants. They would be nurtured to the best they can be. The user can even raise lions, tigers, giraffes, etc. But animals must be specified whether they are livestock or not. Animals not part of the livestock would gain some intelligence, be very loyal to the user, and listen to everything the user says. Even when taken out into the real world, the animals would remain loyal. However, livestock would do no such thing as they are nothing more than ordinary animals for harvest. That's for sure, Rainer said. She knows it to be true as devils, yokai, fallen angels, and even some from the other pantheon would send people to purchase goods from the store. I still remember when I first took a bite of my first apple from your family's store. I tasted heavenly. I've eaten nothing like it before, not even in heaven. But it's so expensive. Ah ha ha ha. Yeah, it is, Issei said. He was still laughing. A long time ago, he realized that most of the rich people in the world are from the supernatural world. Those are the targets of his products. If you want to have some, you can just grab as many as you want. It's not like we'll run out of it anyway. Hey, are you serious? Rainer said. She knew how expensive the products were. She thought it would be due to not having a lot of products, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Thank you. I've had to work hard in the Grigori to get enough money to buy a few fruits and meat from your store. No problem. Just don't overdo it, Issei said. Though, he wouldn't mind making Drake work overtime to harvest more. Anyway, I have homework to do. I'll go and finish it and I'll be back in a few minutes. Is all Rainer could think. She might not be a real schoolgirl, but she knew schools give so much homework. There was no way Issei could complete it in a few minutes. But the thing is, Issei is capable of using images of Icon. A duplication spell. He would duplicate himself and give homework to each of the duplicates. Rainer then shrugged her shoulders and called for Issei. Wait, before you head upstairs, I need to ask you something, Rainer said. She wanted Issei's help with training. I wanted to ask you if you can help me train. When I went against Kakabiel, I felt hopeless. I couldn't even scratch him. I felt weak and pathetic, and because of me, Middleton Kalawarna were hurt. I don't want to ever feel that way again, and you are the only person I can ask for help. Issei was not sure if he should. Not because he doesn't trust Rainer, he actually knows that she wasn't lying. Issei's way of training is far more intense than anyone would want to experience. This is a tough question to answer. My training is brutal. It's not something any normal or sane person would go through, but the result speaks for itself. I'll train you, but it'll be up to you to withstand my training's brutality. If it means I'll be stronger, I don't care how tortuous the training would be, Rainer said. She was on the verge of tears. Remembering her uselessness against Kakabiel hurts. I'll endure whatever I have to no longer feel that way again. Believe it or not, I know what it feels to be weak and pathetic, Issei said. Remembering the time he couldn't save the mother and daughter against a group of fallen angels. It hurts to think about. But rather than pitying himself, he decided to use those feelings to fuel his determination to get stronger and never feel useless again. That's why I'll train you to the best of my ability. Rainer smiled at Issei and was thankful to him for agreeing to help her. She was already falling in love with him a while back, but now, there was no doubt that she was in love with Hyoudou Issei. And she was glad that she was dating him. Back again in the Orc. Issei didn't know why he was back here again, or why he even agreed to follow Akeno to the Orc, but he's here now. Issei looked at Riaz, and she did not know how to speak with him. Seriously, you call me here, and all you do is stare at me, Issei said. He was going to start Rainer's training today. Yet, he was being held up due to Riaz calling him. Can we please get this over with? I have things to do. Right, sorry about that, Ria said. She didn't know how to make a deal with someone who seemingly had nothing in need. I wanted to make a deal with you. As much as I wanted you to be part of my peerage, I realized that isn't possible. So, all I can do is go for the next best thing, which would be making a deal. I want you to train Kiba with a sword and a keno in magic. You can ask me whatever you need in exchange, as long as it's reasonable. Issei was thinking. For a long time, he has been looking for the daughter of the woman that he tried to save from the group of fallen angels, but he was never able to do so. Issei has been curious if he was ever able to save the little girl, or if she died like her mom since she suddenly disappeared. Okay, I'll train them, but in exchange, I want you to look for someone I've been searching for a long time here in Kuo. Is that all? Ria said. She was confused as to why that's all Issei was asking for. But what she doesn't know is how much the little girl's information has been eating away at Issei's mind. Knowing what happened is more valuable than any item or money anyone can give to Issei. Can I ask for the details of the little girl? The last time I saw the little girl was 7 years ago, Issei said. Looking through his memories, Issei described what he could to Rias. Back then, she seemed to be about my age. She had black hair and purple eyes. That wouldn't be enough to find the person you're looking for. Or at least it would be very difficult, Ria said. She could find the person with all the devil's connections, but it would be challenging due to lack of information. Do you have any more information about the person? Like the situation with the family, incidents you can remember, anything that could help. 7 years ago, the little girl and her mother were attacked by a group of fallen angels, Issei said. Rias was listening intently, but Akeno was shocked on the other hand. She and her mother were attacked by fallen angels 7 years ago. I tried to save them, but I was too weak to completely hold off the number of fallen angels. I was able to kill most, but when I was done, I saw that the little girl's mother had died, and the little girl was gone. I never knew what happened to the little girl, and it's been killing me to know what happened. Akeno was shaking in her seat. Sure enough, it was her and her mother that Issei was talking about. Akeno remembers it, a kid about her age took on a group of fallen angels and held them back. But unfortunately, the number of fallen angels was too much. Some slipped past his guard and were able to kill her mother. Can I ask you a question? Akeno, a person who is confident in herself, was stuttering. Like Issei, she has been looking for the person that tried to help her years ago. Was the mother-daughter pair attacked near shrine? Yeah? Issei said. He was confused. How would Akeno know about it? Unless he looked at Akeno and realized she looked like the little girl's mother. His eye twitched. How could he never have noticed? It's you. You were the little girl. You looked exactly like the mother. Akeno dashed towards him and gave him a hug. She's been wanting to do this for a long time. Thank the person that tried to help her. Going against a group of fallen angels at such a young age was not something anyone would just do. Yet, a kid her age was able to push them back. As it turns out, Issei was the reason she was still alive and striving to get stronger. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Akeno shouted. She finally found the person that she's been searching for. Thank you for saving me that day and trying to save my mom. Sorry I wasn't able to save her, Issei said. He was smiling since a part of him felt lighter after finding out the little girl from 7 years ago was okay. I tried to save you both, I really did, but I wasn't strong enough back then. It's not your fault, Akeno said. She then backed away from the hug. You did everything you could. It's those damn fallen angels that were at fault. Issei saw the eyes of Akeno and felt that something was wrong. She wasn't only blaming the group of fallen angels that attacked her and her mother, but the entire race. It was justifiable to blame the whole race in the eyes of a little girl, but she was a lot older now. Akeno should know it's not right to condemn the actions of the few on the entire race. That's just not right. Don't do that, Issei said. Akeno looked at him weirdly. Do not blame an entire race for the actions of the few. That's just not right, and you know it. Yes, some fallen angels are horrible people, but so are devils, yokai, dragons, and other races. There are good and bad people in every race. The fault of the horrible should never be projected to the good. Akeno understood what Issei was saying, but it's hard not to blame the entire race. Especially since she's never seen the good of the race. However, the person telling her this was the person that saved her years ago, the least she could do was to try. I don't know if I can do that, but I can try, Akeno said. She then smiled and then smirked. Now, how about I reward you for saving me all those years ago? I just know the thing. Akeno then licked her lips. Issei backed away from her as he saw her predatory smirk. Don't take her seriously. She's never been done it with anyone, Ria said. She sighed. Akeno is always like this. She loved to tease. One day, Ria's hopes to see a guy tease back. She wondered how Akeno would act then. Just let her be, and she might get bored and leave you alone. Okay anyways, since you technically achieved your end of the bargain, Issei said. They did their part of the deal, so he would honor his. I'll train Akeno and Kiba. But not just them. I'll also be training Kaneko as well. Kaneko looked up from her pile of food when she heard what Issei said. How did she become part of the conversation? She didn't know, but she was curious now. Kaneko listened to the conversation more intently now, but she still wanted to eat her snack. When she looked down at her food, the quantity was more than before. She was confused but happy to see the addition. She's interesting, Issei said. He looked at her, and he saw potential. Wasted potential. With a few times, Issei has seen Kaneko move, he can tell she's strong physically, but her movement isn't refined, untrained. I can see potential in her. And she's compatible with one of my martial arts since she's quite flexible. Kaneko looked at Issei, and she saw no lies in his words, but she was having this weird feeling that she might be put in the ringer more than the other two. It was only for a moment, but she saw it. She saw Issei smirk. Oh? That's quite generous of you, but Kaneko is a hand-to-hand combatant, Ria said. She's been told Issei was great with a sword. So, when he said martial arts, she thought he meant sword martial arts. Which would be incompatible with Kaneko. I don't think she has the talent for it. I wasn't talking about sword training, Issei said. He should have elaborated on what he meant. I'm quite good with my hand-to-hand combat. I want to teach Ri Taekwondo to Kaneko. I see, so, where and when would the training begin? Riaz asked. She didn't know how Issei trained. So, information about where and when is a normal thing to ask. If it's alright with you, I'd like to make a training schedule to fit both of us. Issei had no problem with that. So, he worked with Riaz for the next 30 minutes to schedule Akeno, Kiba and Kaneko's training. Every day, after school, Issei would train the trio for 3 hours and on the weekends, they would be trained for 7 hours. However, Issei told Riaz that he could do something that would make everyday life as training. Riaz was interested and she asked him to show her. Issei smirked and he applied the runes on her body that caused the gravity on her body to increase. Riaz dropped to the ground. One thing to note about these runes is that the stronger you get, the stronger the gravity will be. Though, there is a limit. However, Riaz and the others were not reaching that limit for a long time. Funny thing, when Issei was going to remove the runes from Riaz, she asked him not to. Issei nodded and he applied the runes to Kaneko, Akeno and Kiba. The worst of the three was Kiba, which came as a shock since he was supposed to be a swordsman. But then again, he does seem to be a speed-type fighter. End of the here. So that's it for today's video guys, before you go just like the video and share it with your friends. Bye.